Hey everyone, it's Erin Melton back to talk with you today and really excited about who we have today. It is Al Stasek. Al, welcome.
Hi, Erin. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you for being here. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into real estate.
So I got into real estate probably like a lot of people out there by default. So
Yep.
my father was a real estate agent part-time. He worked a union job full-time,
Okay.
and we're out of a suburb of Cleveland, Ohio called Parma. That's my folks are still there. And I saw my dad, working really, really hard, not just during the day in a job he hated, but he genuinely liked real estate. But I would go to the office with him just because I'd want to hang out with him because he's
Right.
gone to work all day. He'd come home. You'd want to go up to the office. And this is back in the 80s. And, it just was a different environment then.
Yes.
And it was very, very male driven, very
Mhm.
hardcore. Everybody's smoking in the office. It was not a friendly environment that we know real
Right.
estate offices to be today.
Right.
I would go up, and if we weren't at the office, I would go upstairs. He had his home office. We would
Okay.
make calls, and he would use the Haynes directory, and he would literally call a street a day, cold calling them. Hey, this is Al Stasek with Century 21. His name's Al too.
Okay. Okay.
This is Al Stasek with Century 21. Are you thinking of selling now or in the future? Click. Next one. Hang up. Swore at. And I was like sitting there on the floor one day, and I'm like, I am never going to
Right.
be. So I actually dropped out of college because that just wasn't for me,
Yeah.
and actually got into the trucking industry. And so
Okay.
I got my CDL, I was driving truck, and after it, that kind of just wore on me for a little while because I like being around people.
Sure.
I don't like being by myself too often
Right.
or for a long period of time. I just like being around people. And
Mhm.
you're not around people on the road, so that was fun. I saw the country and got paid for it, but it wasn't my long-term thing. And I was just reflecting, and I said, I'm not college educated. I had a knack for people. I could, connect with people.
Right.
And I said, well, if I'm going to sell something, what's the highest dollar thing I could sell?
Right.
And it was homes. And the way I was just like very, weird logic. I'm like, everyone needs a house or
Yep.
a roof over their head. So the
Sure.
demand is going to be there, and it's high dollar. And my dad was doing it. So I figured I'll give that a whirl.
Sure.
And made the decision, got my real estate license in 1998. And it's been a really fun journey of ups and downs and wins and losses and heartaches. But I wouldn't want it to be in any other industry, frankly, right now. I mean, I'm having a blast and still get to now I'm about helping other people win, in the realm of selling homes. So that's
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, I certainly can understand where you're coming from there. We're a household of realtors and in real estate, and I know both of our kids who are grown now, both of them said from very young age, "We will never go into real estate," and one of them is,
Yeah.
you know?
It's not
It
a terrible thing.
it's not a terrible
If they
thing.
have the right leadership, which of course they do with you and Brian, then that's great, and for me, my dad was part-time, so
Mhm.
he didn't really, have the guidance to get me, to where,
Right.
full time. This is what you do for a living. And so I had to seek outside my even brokerage and everything to learn. So I bought everything on the planet from, Craig Proctor's Coaching in a Box to eventually, thankfully, I landed, I found Jay Kinder. They found me, one of the two. And, 2010, started coaching with Mike and Jay. My business started to double every year after that. They helped me, they coached me into opening my own brokerage and leaving
Okay.
Remax. And so that's just kind of how that journey took me, and just always seeking a better way.
Absolutely. That's really great. Al, what would you say is your why?
So, the typical answer on that is, and I usually I coach to stay away from the word why.
Okay.
And the reason is that it was, kind of like brought to my enlightenment one day that, when you're talking about the highest form of love. It's accountability. Holding the people that you love accountable is one of the highest forms of love. And the word why tends to be a word of judgment. So why,
Right. Mhm.
why did you not do what you're doing? And stuff
Mm.
like this. So for me, I really, my kids are, number one in my life and want to see them win and everything. But I really am about experiencing new experiences, living my bucket list, and really trying to show my children how to live, like really how to live.
Yeah.
And this is no cut. I love my parents deeply,
Mhm.
They did an amazing job working, both of them working 2 jobs apiece just so we can go on vacations and do stuff, but
Right.
that was always the goal, right?
Right.
So we always reflect back to that, and for me, I want to make sure that my kids understand that there are no limits.
Mhm.
And I didn't always believe that. I
Sure.
early on had limiting beliefs a lot, and so I just want to lead by example that that a life by strategy is the one you want to live,
Right.
and make sure that they have not just the opportunity to do it, but I want to make sure that they witness me doing it and
Mhm.
seeing that that there is another life out there that
Yes.
is fulfilling, and it's you can just check more boxes, and it's not just about the money piece of it.
No.
That makes it a lot easier.
Of course.
But I have friends that are living their bucket list and make a lot less money than myself and are doing a heck of a lot more, as
Mhm.
far as checking those boxes and stuff. So
Mhm.
it's just about making as many magical moments and memories, as possible.
It's great. That is a great not why, but a good reason to live.
Yes.
Talk to everyone about this, burn the boats and what that means.
So burn the boats. I Ironically, we talked about Mike and Jay. So the first time that I attended a Kinder Reese event was in 2000. It was in November of 2010.
Okay.
And a gentleman by the name of Hoss Pratt was basically opened up. He was the opening speaker,
Okay.
and I know Hoss now, but I didn't know him then. And he stood up there and told the story of Burn the Boats. And so, I don't know that we have really the time to tell the whole story right now, but you know the
Go
story,
ahead.
right?
I don't know the story. No.
You don't?
I do
Oh,
not know the story.
okay. So Hernando Cortez was a conqueror.
Okay.
And I believe it was back in 1519. Hernando Cortez decided and made a decision that he was going to take the richest treasure in the world. The problem was that treasure was guarded by the strongest, fiercest army in the world. And so, but he decided he was going to do it. So he recruited up 100 sailors and 300 fighters, and 7 horses, and on about 7 ships. And he recruited all these gentlemen up, put them on the ships, and set shore from the shores of Cuba, heading to the Yucatan Peninsula, which is where this treasure was.
Okay.
And, it's this is the parable is that conqueror after conqueror after conqueror tried to steal this treasure and take over this army, but they all got defeated and killed
Mhm.
because it was the richest treasure guarded by the baddest of bad armies.
Sure.
And so we joke a little because conquerors were a dime a dozen. They were kind of like realtors, tons of realtors out there.
Right.
They have seminars and coaching things on how to be a conqueror, right?
Right, right.
So and a lot of them failed. But Hernando Cortez, he did something a little bit different. He spoke to his men differently, not just tried to get them rah pumped up. He actually
Mhm.
spoke to them about what the future would look like if they were to be successful. He
Mhm.
spoke to them about not just about being rich, but how this is going to affect generations by generations, not just their children, but their children's children, and maybe their children as well if they were successful. And so he hit him with the vision, right? He got it. He got the vision. So the important thing that he did differently than any of the other conquerors, that he casted that vision, right? And vision's everything. Vision's the most important thing that we could get clarity on with our business as we grow our real estate business. And for him, if he hadn't cast that vision, I don't think that he would have gotten enough men to actually even make an attempt at this, because it's scary.
Right.
So halfway across the ocean, before they were about to, hit the beaches, the men started to actually get nervous, and they're like, Mr. Cortez, I think we should turn around, and I'm not thinking that I want to anymore. And he's like, just trust me on this. I got something for you when we get to the shore. I have something that's going to make you feel better. And they're like, okay. So they gathered everybody up on the beaches. They had the ships anchored out, and he gathered everybody up. And the men were super nervous, and they're looking around at everybody thinking, they're whispering around, like, what's he going to do? Is he going to listen to groups and tell us to go here? And when arrows start to fly, we go over here. And is this the strategy session? Because they were not feeling it. And he leaned in, and he got real quiet, and he said 3 words that changed everything. He said, "Burn the boats." And all the men were like, "Excuse me? Burn the boats?"
Right.
And Hernando said, "If we're leaving this island, we're leaving on their boats, not our boats. Torch the boats." And they torched all 7 ships. And in fact, it's funny. There's my burn the boats.
Oh, yes.
Right there. I forgot that I had that there. I just got this like 2 weeks ago.
Love it.
That's them burning the boats. You can see them. They're right here. The shores right there, and that's one of the ships they're burning. And there's other ships back there burning too. You just can't see them. And so they burned the boats. And something happened after that.
Right.
They fought really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
They actually took the treasure, and they beat the army that nobody could beat.
Right.
Because they burned the boats, and they made a decision that there was no plan B. They burned the possibilities of anything. It's either fight well or die.
Yeah.
There's no retreating. And so when Hoss told me that story, the next question he asked everybody was, "What boats do you need to burn? When you get back from this seminar, all pumped up and this and that, what are you going to go down back to your hometown when you decide, look, I'm taking my business to the next level. Right. What boats do you need to burn?" And it's not just about business. It's but boats in life. A book that is a really, really great, one of my favorite business books is The Hard Thing About Hard Things. Mm-hmm. That book changed my life, but it kind of goes right along with Burn the Boats, because it really is a book about how CEOs of large companies have to make really, really hard decisions. That's the hard thing about hard things. And what most people do that I see is they stay inside this comfort zone. Yes. And they because it's warm and it's snuggly and it feels good, and there's really no discomfort or pain in that comfort zone. So if we just stay right there in that comfort zone, it's going to feel better. The problem is there's no growth ever that happens inside the comfort zone. What happens is you coast. Yep. And so, there's certain things that, like hundreds and hundreds of agents that, I've coached over the years that people have had to burn the boats on. Sometimes they got to burn the boats on their part-time job that's been making their rent and car payment. Right. Because they're afraid to burn that boat and go full in. So they're hanging on to that bartender's job. And there's nothing wrong with that. I had a part-time job. I had a full-time job when I started, and I had to burn that boat. Eventually, I knew that was a boat I had to burn, because I was never going to be successful unless I got rid of it and went all in with real estate. So it's what your boat is. And so the people that are listening to your podcast here, I think the question to ask is, what boats do you got some boats you need to burn. It's just a matter of, are you going to be truthful to yourself, or are you going to keep looking in the mirror and lying that you don't need to burn it? And I'm not telling you here that it's easy to burn the boat. It takes some brass nuggets to burn that boat. That's right. Take some balls. But you got to do it if you expect to grow. And when I joined EXP Realty, I burned the boats. I built that brokerage up from nothing and opened the brokerage in 2013. And of course, in 2017, 2016, I had our best year financially ever with everything. And then I saw the EXP model and I said, shit, I got to burn the boats again.
Yeah.
And so I just, that's the burn the boats story. So hopefully that now you know.
Oh, I love it. I'm so glad that I asked. You had something else on there as a possible topic, and that would have been so boring. So glad I asked. I
Okay.
know I have a whole bunch of boats to burn.
All right. Burn them.
Oh, burn them. What would your adolescent self not recognize about Al today?
Confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I was a very, I was 4'9" as a freshman in high school, which,
Mhm.
the small stature made me, that much more fierce.
Yep.
And so I kind of channeled that and, you use that to my benefit the best I could.
Sure.
Truth of the matter is though, I still didn't have the level of confidence that I think I needed, which said differently means a belief in yourself.
Right.
And so, for me, there's been a lot of things that changed that for me. One was in 2001. My friend at the time, who I worked with, I was working for his brokerage. He took me to a Tony Robbins Unleash the Power Within in Chicago. Walked
Mhm.
on hot coals. That was
Oh,
So that was one step, into the direction of personal growth and development for me. He
mhm.
really opened my eyes up to that whole world that I didn't even know existed really.
Right.
And then, you know, I got beat up pretty bad in the 2008, 2009, the housing crash.
Yep.
But I pulled through it, bumped, bruised, bloodied, lots of debt, lost
Yep.
all my money basically, and went into debt.
Same
And so
here.
that beat me up mentally.
Yeah.
But I I had the enough drive to just I was going through hell and I had to keep on going. I knew that. It didn't make it any easier and it didn't make it better. I just knew that I had to keep going.
Yeah.
And luckily that's what kind of bumped me into 2010 when I started, following Mike and Jay, and then eventually hired them as my coaches, and then came to that first EGS, which
Mhm.
stands for Exponential Growth Summit. And that belief happened in that room. And that was maybe about 100 people. It was a very small, that ended up ballooning to like 600-700 people eventually. But, there was a panel, and on the panel, I remember everyone that was on there, but one of them was Curtis Johnson. I don't know if you know Curtis. He's a good friend of ours, and he's Honey Badger. Curtis was up there, and Blake Sloan was up there, who's also a real good friend of mine now. And in that panel, when I saw these guys, I had just been hanging with them the night before. Now they're up there on this panel, and they're selling
Right.
300, 400, 500, 700 homes a year. And I was like, holy
Uh,
shit.
oh,
And I had this belief all of a sudden. I'm like, these guys, I didn't know that these guys were rock stars like this. I mean,
right.
shoot, I know I can do this, and
Uh-huh.
that was, I think, when I got, so it was just a belief thing, like
Mhm.
I needed to believe in myself a little bit, more than what I did. I didn't have bad self-esteem or anything like that. I just needed to think bigger and have a bigger belief that I could do more than what I thought I was capable
Right. That you were in the right room with everyone
of.
and that you belonged.
Well, yeah, and I mean that's the big thing, is that I wouldn't have gotten there. I mean,
Mhm.
I grew up. This is no offense to the kids that I grew up with and whatever, but I mean, I kind of grew up with a chip on my shoulder. I was, when I drove truck, I had long hair all down to here. I was a hippie. I was just, but I wasn't a happy hippie. I was an angry
Oh,
one.
that's not good.
Yeah, it was just like from the music I listened to, which was just dark, grungy 90s, Alice in Chains,
Right.
and I still love all that music or whatever,
Right,
but I
right.
don't listen to it that often. But now
Sure.
in reflecting back, I could see how it had an effect on me. And so, yeah, that the Al that you see today is definitely not the Al of then, but it really boiled down to the environment. What changed
Mhm.
everything was who I got around, and
Yes.
making sure that I wasn't the smartest person in the room, and making sure I wasn't afraid to get into a room of people that were much smarter and have grown bigger than what I've done. And so I think that was probably the biggest thing for me.
That's super cool to hear there, and, I know that's gonna make a big difference to everyone as well. How does being a part of EXP and Honey Badger Nature make you feel?
Well, I mean, the first word that pops in my head is grateful, um, fortunate. I was very. I didn't know anything about EXP Realty, but
Right.
one of my coaching clients, George Huntoon, who's a great human being. I used to coach him back when I coached for Mike and Jay. I became one of their coaches.
Okay.
I had left Remax and opened my own brokerage, Stasek Real Estate Experts. We were doing really, really well. And so he kept in 2016, he kept trying to tell me about EXP Realty. He's like, dude, it was like at the time, it was like $1.25 a share. And,
Right, right.
and I'm like, no, I'm not interested. Cause the truth of it was I was supposed to partner with Mike and Jay on their national initiative.
Okay.
And so, I had a loyalty to them, but not just, it went beyond a loyalty. It was really, we were all collaborating together to do this thing nationally.
Right.
And it was called NAEA Partner. And
Okay.
so I, was focused on that. And then I had my number one agent and my number three agent meet me for a drink and told me that they were leaving, and they were starting their own team at Keller Williams. And I was like, damn, it was a shot.
Right.
So Cliff Freeman, who was my first coach at Kinder Reese, he was hitting me up and, dude, just watch this. Just look at this. Tell me
Right,
if
right.
I'm crazy. He's like, would you tell me if I'm crazy or not? I'm like, I'll tell you you're crazy. Fine.
Right, right.
So I went and now, mind you, right when I had looked at it, I had just closed on a huge home, and I just had my top agents just leave me and
Yeah.
watch $400,000 in income a year walk right out the door to Keller Williams. So I was feeling like I was in a little bit of a pinch right now. So
Sure.
I was skimming the pool that I wasn't sure how I was going to afford, and listened to, I think it was like one of Brent Go's webinars.
Okay.
What I heard was like, holy crap, this would have solved so many problems. The girls wouldn't have left and started their own team
Mhm.
outside of this, and it was solving problems.
Right.
Um, and I was like, geez, okay. So I kept looking in. And so when I made the decision after 60 days to join the company, I had no idea that Mike and Jay were going to join with us and partner with me. That wasn't why I joined. I joined because I knew that this was a better model for my agents than what I was providing them as an independent broker. And it wasn't because I had a bad brokerage. We had
Sure.
great services and we had great culture and all that stuff, but I couldn't give them stock. I couldn't give
Right.
them new share and have all these other components, the 60 plus hours a week of training. I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
So it was like, it scaled so well that I thought
Mhm.
I could probably grow my brokerage from 10 agents, because I had 12, two left, to 50 or 100 pretty easily with this,
Mhm.
on a local level. No
Right.
idea that anyone else would be remotely interested in it, because frankly, Mike and Jay, they had a $10 million coaching company,
Right. Why would
with some other stuff. And I wasn't ever trying to ask Jay Kinder to join us. I was just
Right.
asking him to talk me out of it. I said, dude, look at this and just tell me why I shouldn't move my brokerage into it, because I haven't seen a model like it. Little did I know that was probably the best way to approach him, but I didn't know that.
Right.
We were like best friends and everything. And I was just like, dude, would you look at this for me and poke
Right.
some holes in it and just tell me not to do it, and I won't. But I've looked at this for 60 days. And so, what that turned into was Honey Badger Nation and 7,000 plus agents that we get to grow our businesses together. And that's why I said grateful, because I would have been, if you would have told me 3.5 years ago that this would have been the outcome, I would have definitely not believed you.
Right.
No, I definitely, but Gene Frederick came and stayed with me here in my town here, just outside of Cleveland, and he was showing me his revenue share numbers at the time, and he got and they were just shy of 6 figures a month, and I was like, no way.
Right. Right.
I remember telling Gene, I'm like, Gene, are you that? No, come on. I'm like, maybe you, but
Right.
not us. And so Gino, here's the thing: don't bet against Gino. Gino's right. Gino knows his stuff, Uncle Gino. And so I've been just blessed to meet so many great human beings that genuinely care for
Mhm.
other human beings.
Mhm.
And that environment I had with the Kinder Reese Mastermind. Prior to that, that was my family. My work family was the Kinder Reese Mastermind, and a lot of those people are all honey badgers right now.
Right.
Andrew Gadosh and the Carlos German, and but now that family's now been able to be expanded, and so it's just I'm the luckiest guy on the planet. That's what I wake up saying every day.
Well, I'm sure glad that you went and showed that Jay that thing and that y'all created this, because I know we wouldn't be here today if you hadn't. So,
Well,
well,
we're
Al,
great.
you've had a lot of success up to this point, obviously. What is important to you at this stage of your career
There
and
it
your life? That's right, there it is.
is. For me, it goes back to what I was saying earlier, is that really just setting that example, making sure that I I set the best example for my two boys moving forward, and in whatever career they decide to go into, showing them a side of life that that they can that's attainable to them if they
Sure.
want it. Making sure that they understand the principles that they're going to have to adapt to get there, with work ethic, with commitment, and
Mhm.
staying with something and believing in themselves, and just all of those things. Those are the most important things, to me. My sons are 15 and almost 17. And so, they're young men. They're about to go into the wild work world here pretty
Yeah,
soon. And at first I was like, oh, you guys should, take over the old man's business and come join me in real estate. But it's not about, it's their journey.
mhm,
And one says he's in and one says he's not in. And I'm totally fine with that. But I'm excited to see what they do. I'm excited to watch them. And that, I'm staring down the last half of my life at this point. I'm 47. I'm gonna this is the half I'm gonna. It's not about the grind for me. We used to hang that grind badge on like a badge of honor, and
sure.
I'm about that flow. I'm about that flow right now.
Yes.
And so, I'm going to keep flowing, and I'm going to keep, adding value to people's lives. And if somebody's in my life and I can add value to them and they can add value to me, then they're going to stay within the circle. And if not, that's okay too. I'm going to keep flowing.
There
So
you go.
yeah,
Well, Al, thank you so much for agreeing to be on and talking to today about burning the boats, being in the flow, all of this good stuff. I've taken so much from your talk, and I know a lot of other people are gonna really take a lot from it too.
I'm glad you had me on. Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you so much, and I hope we get a chance to actually meet each other one day.
We will for sure.
For sure.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Bye-bye.